My name is Leslie Muise. I'm from originally Quintarocco. I now live in Hubbard's Point. 15th of November 32. I'm married to Pauline, who was a shred from Morris Island. We've been married going on 59 years.
Okay.
2 children, Jalisa and Robbie, who is in Vancouver.
Yeah. Well,
I went to school to St. Andrew Resort.
did you go to grade 12 and
No,
that?
grade 8.
And what happened to you after?
There was no work, and I finished school. I joined the service.
You joined the service. So what did you join?
When I first joined, I joined the artillery. I was anti-aircraft in Picton, Ontario. I joined 51.
In 51?
Yeah, May of 51. And then around 53, they needed volunteers to go to Germany or Korea, so I volunteered for Korea.
For Korea. Was the war on at that time? When
I went in November, it wasn't.
And what were you doing there?
Well, it was...
In the artillery?
Yes, we were always on standby, because the war never did stop, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed that the Canadians were there until 57. Most were only there till 55.
You're a member of the Wedgeport Legion, but
Yes.
you were in administration also, weren't you, at one time in the...
No, when I came home, I got out of the service and I joined the Navy.
So when did you come home after?
It was 54. Yeah, spring of 54.
And were you...
My time was up in May of 54.
So you resigned from the...
They sent me to New Brunswick, and it wasn't a place for me, so I decided I'd get out. But when I got out, there's no work.
Oh, okay.
So I decided, I loved sailing, because I sailed across back and forth, and I decided to try the Navy. So I went in the Navy in the Signal Corps.
Signal Corps. Where did you join? In Halifax?
In Halifax, and done my training in Cornwallis, most of it.
Oh, okay.
And then I sailed until 1963 when they scrapped the ship, so I went to Shelburne for 3 years.
So what were you doing in Shelburne there? But still in the Signal Corps?
Communication, yeah.
Communication?
Yeah.
Were you married? When did you marry?
We married the 31st of December 59.
59?
Yeah.
So when you came back, you weren't married, and when you joined the Navy, you weren't married?
No.
And how long did you stay in Shelburne?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And after that?
Well, we hadn't lived together for, when I joined the Navy, when we were married, we never lived together until 63, you know. So I said, it's no life for me to be away all the time. So I asked to transfer to the Army Signal Corps. At the time and they transferred me. When I was on the ship, the captain asked me where I wanted to go when the ship was decommissioned. And I told him that I'd like to go to Shelburne, which I did. So after my 3 years in Shelburne, I had requested a transfer, and I went back to Stadacona in Halifax. And he was he was the commanding officer of Stadacona. So he talked to me because he knew me from the ship, right? And he said, if you don't get a transfer, will you stay in the Navy? I said, no, sir. I had a job in Shelburne at the garage. And so he said to the people, do all in your power to transfer this man. So in a month,
you were transferred?
In the Army, yeah. But
So,
see, I only had the grade 8 education, so I had to up myself up to grade 11, do the exams, and pass, and then it took me.
and how long did you stay there? Stay in the Army Signal Corps?
I got out in 77, fall of 77.
So that's when you retired,
I retired.
from
The service.
From the service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
26 years.
Where were you living all that time then, when you were in the Army Signal Corps?
The last posting, well, I was in Valcartier, Kingston, Ontario, Valcartier. when they formed the French-speaking group. I stayed there 8 years.
So you joined the French-speaking group?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got, there was two of us, and one of us had to go to Mill Cove in Hubbards. So the other fellow had a house in Valcartier, so I volunteered. And I stayed there 3 months, but I wasn't, excuse me, happy with the posting. So I said to her, I'm getting out. She said, you earned a living. So out I went.
Okay. When you got out, you moved to Hubbard's Point?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had bought my piece of land a while before when they started sending Canadians to Vietnam. And when that come up, my friend went. Next trip was my turn. And I wasn't satisfied with, I wasn't one for that war. I thought they shouldn't have been there.
No.
So I had a piece of land, so when my time come up, instead
But were
of
they
staying, I got out.
sending actual soldiers, Canadian soldiers, to Vietnam?
The one group went for about 6 months, or maybe a year. Yeah, and then they cut it off.
Yeah, that was a bad war.
One of my friends went, and he married a Vietnamese.
You moved back. You weren't very old then.
No, I was ready to work. I worked at Sweeney's Funeral Home for 2.5 years. Mostly driving the ambulance and
Oh, yeah.
doing that job, yeah, or whatever had to be done. And then I worked in the garage in Ray's Service Center now, in Hebron. Worked for a while there.
What were you doing there?
Oh, do mechanic work.
You're a mechanic too?
I wasn't qualified, but I could do the work.
I wasn't.
Yeah. And then I went to Kennebec and I worked on maintenance there. Repairing machines, whatever they had.
So you're a handyman
I
then?
could do most anything, electrical. Oh yeah, I built my own house. And,
Yeah.
had a mobile, put it on a foundation and built on it.
Right.
It's still standing.
Good, and you're still in Hubbard's Point with
Yeah.
your wife there?
Yeah,
And you're a member of the Wedgeport Legion.
yeah.
When did you join the Legion? When did they
Over 30 years ago. 31 years.
So you're
I had joined about 10 years prior. I had volunteered, but I just couldn't find the time to get sworn in. I didn't have the time to give, so I waited about 10 years and I finally came in.
Well, we're certainly glad that you joined, all the work that you did.
Yeah.